Before the fallen ruled with terror, we watched our families stolen from us. It was their fathers, worse than the Nephilim. That was after they went astray. And with each passing year, their hatred for us grew. As their madness increased, the cries of men reached the heavens.
Do what you will! We will never meet again!
My life means nothing if you don't accomplish the charge of the Almighty, Selah, for we are one flesh. If you don't return from this, I'll rejoice with you in the heart of the earth.
We will find the power we need. It runs through every breath and creature. This earth is ours.
Hey, brother, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. That's why I brought him on, so he could help me out. I wanted to, what I said was, I would love to take all the credit for what you just saw. However, there's no way I could ever do anything like that. That is some people who have been blessed with talents joining together to make the Days of Noah series. So we have Sean from Kingdom in Context here to break it down and show you how you can support this awesome project. This is something that I've never seen in all my days in the truth community. It's a production that's from Biblical Earth Creationist that's geared towards children. That's high quality animated series. Like, this is phenomenal. I mean, we just witnessed the Fasuk Films production, which was the first of its kind. And then now there's this. So it's quite the blessing. So go ahead and tell us about this, like how it got started. Just whatever you want to share about it. I'll kind of pull up some things too along the way.
Yeah, thank you, Josh, for having me on, for being to talk about this. The project is called Days of Noah, and you can go to daysofnoah.tv to be a part of the team to make this a reality, because everyone counts. This is definitely being crowdfunded. Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Hollywood in general, they're not going to touch this, right? They're not going to ever create something like this. It's actually going to portray a pre-flood world according to Scripture, because it gives away their end-time deceptions. And that's why we wanted to take a shot at this. This has actually been on my heart since approximately 2007. That's when I first started writing this story. And 2005, I had the inspirational nights, kind of like that Jerry Maguire night where you're up all night and you can't go to sleep because there's too much happening in your brain. Felt like the Father just kind of like opened my brain and was putting this cinematic type story in with all these elements and characters. And I've been studying the Bible since 97, but around 2005, the concept of Noah really started, appealing to me, as far as like, why would Yeshua say, be like the days of Noah? So what's going on there? Why would he compare the end times to something like that? Why does Ecclesiastes 1:9 say that there's nothing new under the sun? It's everything that's been done will be done again. And so what does that mean? How specific is that? Is that just a, wonderful waxing type of phrase, or is that like a very real concept? The Father is sharing his wisdom to warn us how to avoid deception. And then as I got older, I started actually, studying the whole general concept. And I still have my journal from that night from 2005. And I was like in the middle of the night. This was before cell phones had a light on them. So I was like scribbling in the dark in the middle of the night. And just I got page after page of, how the flood may have been built without being seen, and why didn't they destroy it? And I had ideas that came to me for inventions, for weapons, for farming concepts, for just the whole story was just unfolding in my brain that night. And so over time, I started researching the era of the story. Is there any information on the pre-flood world? What does it look like? Now, since the rise of YouTube in the past 10 years, obviously you've probably seen a ton of CGI animated concepts that Christian production companies or pastors or churches may have tried to portray concept about the flood. I mean, obviously they have the Ark Museum in Kentucky, right? Which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But when you start digging into how they describe those concepts from scripture, many times it's not accurate at all. And Josh, I think you just had an experience at the Ark Museum.
Yes.
With this particular topic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very misleading to our children. And that's why this is so important. Like the days of Noah, that was on my heart, was thinking about how he was preparing for an event with the firmament that involved the firmament opening up. And similar to that, that's what we're doing. We're preparing for this event. And, there's going to be deceptions out there. Like the entire world was deceived then. So it's going to be very similar. You've got most of the world being deceived. And watching children go to this Noah exhibit, expecting to go to a biblical place, and they are countering that with they're just against the Bible, what the Bible actually says the days of Noah were like and what the earth was like. And so they were actually putting out the propaganda that said, no, it's a globe, that the flat earthers are conspiracy theorists, anti-Semitic. So yeah, it was heartbreaking to see that. And they're mixing different animals. They had a zonkey, like a mix between a zebra and a donkey, and they're like, they're doing all these weird things, and they're actually, this is funny, they're going to make a replica of the Tower of Babel. So they're not just going to have the Ark. And I thought that was something from like the Babylon Bee, but we talked to somebody there, and they said, no, they're going to redo the Tower of Babel. Like, seriously, I don't know what's going through their heads.
That is interesting, because our storyline for the days of Noah, the animated series, it's 400 years before the flood, leading up to the flood, and then the last 2 seasons will encompass the approximate 300 years leading up to the Tower of Babel after the flood. And so that's where the series will end, is the destruction of the Tower of Babel, the dispersions of the people into nations. And so many people focus on the flood and the concept, and Christian communities will argue, is it a local flood or a worldwide flood? And we are definitely showing a worldwide flood in this series, but that's not even going to be until season 6. So the whole concept is we want to do 8 full seasons, approximately 16 episodes per season. So we want to make this a real thing, like a real impact on the generation. Obviously, if you've ever seen a series of anything that you've liked, whether TV show or a cartoon or anything that you've liked, more than likely you did not see its first episode. You did not see its first 4 or 5 episodes, but you had to play catch up a little bit because you found out about it later after it grew in popularity. So we understand that, which we're praying the Father brings us through the first season to get to season 2 and 3, where we would expect to actually start reaching into the culture because of the demographic we'll be appealing to. I don't know about you, Josh, but I watched types of cartoons and animes when I was younger, because I'm only 43 now, but back in the late 90s, there was all kinds of interesting cartoons that would come on TV late at night, and I think they were just full of demonic stuff. Mm-hmm. Like some of them were, the characters are trying to become demons, like that's their quest in the storyline. But so I was just, the whole industry of anime and young adult style cartoons are just filled with demonic deception, with reprogramming the culture to accept demonic deception. There's modern animes right now that talk about young women being a part of the Dragon Academy.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just one of the storylines as far as where all these little young girls are going to school, and the drama in their relationships unfolds while they go to Dragon Academy. You know what I mean? It's just little stuff like that, right? And the whole thing is built upon the idea of propagating the heliocentric model, concepts that delve into mysticism, witchcraft, and sorcery. And we will have witchcraft and sorcery in the days of Noah, but you're going to see the origins of it according to Scripture.
Oh, wow.
The Scriptures tell us where these things came from and how they, who taught them to mankind, and how mankind was being destroyed because of these concepts. So rarely do churches ever really present this in any kind of fashion that might, appeal to the children. Now, we do want to keep the rating for this at a PG rating. Okay. So it's definitely, something you can watch with the whole family. Not a G rating, but a PG rating. There will be adult themes that we have to address, but we're going to do it as tactfully as possible because, there's some horrific things that would happen during the flood, but it'll do a lot. There'll be a lot of inference in the writing, you know what I mean? Because I'm actually the writer of the story, producer, director of animation. We have a co-director of animation and our lead art director. His name is Drew Winter. And
Let me
so
pull this guy up.
yeah, and so there you go, awesome. This is some of the folks that have been helping us so far. I think I saw Randy in the chat already. How you doing, brother? Appreciate he's been helping us with a couple of sound effects, and we'll probably have a ton of work for him here in the future, as well as potentially some other things. But ultimately, Drew he's the person I reached out to first because he's the one who helped me with my first Enoch book cover that we have, and so he's the one that illustrated all that and drew all that. And he's a phenomenal artist, and he owns Green Pond Creative, his art company. And so I reached out to him and I told him my vision, my plan, and I said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing something like this?" And told him the whole concept. I want to do 8 seasons. I want to do 16 episodes per season. It's going to be heavy lifting because that's a lot of artwork. That's a lot of animation. So recently we've had the honor of having Gerald Nayo, and he's been able to come on and help out as well. And then we have an original score, which is what you heard in the teaser that you saw at the opening of the video. That's done by Jose Monzon, and he's from Spain. He's an incredible music producer. I mean, and multiple instruments. I mean, you heard it.
Yeah,
he's amazing. Marlo Eugene, also awesome. He's doing some awesome beats for us that we'll be using in the series, because in the series we're going to have a sound design for the actual story, and it's not going to all be cinematic, epic style music. Some of it's going to be more music that gets you from scene one to scene to another. And sometimes you need, we're gonna include more modern style music as well. So Marlo has helped us with some awesome stuff for that for the first several episodes. We're excited about that. Micah Kennard, he's one of the voice actors that is going to be helping with a lot of different voices. We've got a couple of other voice actors as well. Even Drew's wife, Lori, she's one of the voice actors. You heard her in the trailer. And so we're excited. This is just kind of a core group. We've got other people that are helping out that are not pictured. And we'll be adding more to the team because there's a lot. There's 40 different characters to be voiced in just the first season.
Oh my. Wow.
So in the first, I may even have to voice somebody at some point. Who knows?
Yeah.
maybe I'll be the dying giant that's being kicked off a cliff or something. But so we'll figure it out. But we got a lot of characters for the first season, and there'll be different characters that we'll add throughout the seasons. Because remember the story of that Enoch and Jubilees tells us about this idea that 200 watchers rebelled, and when they were sent to the earth and to help mankind, they disobeyed their mission and they rebelled and took wives, started families, and started teaching mankind the secrets of heaven that they weren't supposed to. They started corrupting mankind with advanced knowledge. And so what did that world look like? How did you actually, what kind of world did Noah and his family exist within to get to the point of the flood and not just be completely obliterated by the angels and the Nephilim, who are not just only physically more powerful, but literally were using the intelligence of the fallen angels, of the rebellious angels, to corrupt mankind. So if you don't understand how they just didn't get obliterated, that's where the Bible comes in. That's where the understanding of being a disciple of Yahweh, the Almighty, and understanding who Noah's family was. So we get to portray that in the story without, Lord willing, it will not be a cheesy representation, but it'll be a very well-written, well-crafted idea of portraying interactions, but not making it like some church service that just becomes super, super obvious. Like, we're not going to have. So basically, season 1 is going to start out where there are not a lot of Nephilim yet. So that's going to come more as you see the assembly, which is the rebellious angels that control the giants that are there, as well as mankind and the collection civilizations of mankind. They're in total control of them, and they're already mocking the ways of Yahweh with their own culture, just as we see in our culture today. But not until you see a rift come between the assembly because of what Enoch says, they got different judgments. So imagine this, Josh. What was it like for Samyaza, whom First Enoch says that he took a wife, and then those with him took wives, but it doesn't say that of Azazel. Now, Samyaza and those under his authority, they got a different judgment than Azazel. Azazel still left out roaming around seeking who may devour, the one that we generically refer to as Satan. So what if they were all here on the earth at that time, teaching mankind bad stuff and ruling mankind with their children, the Nephilim? What was that conversation like? Knowing 199 of them knew that Azazel got a different judgment and wasn't going to be locked away as soon as they were.
Golly, that would be.
What kind of lack of solidarity and trust would that breed within them, the angels themselves, and how would that affect their plan to dominate and wipe out mankind so the Messiah couldn't come? So this the whole concept, there's a ton of wonderful opportunity here to create a story, which I feel like I've created the story and I'm adapting it to this series because, like I said, since 2007 I've been writing the story, and approximately 2012 I had a trilogy ready, and I wanted to publish it, and I reached out to publishers in the Christian sphere and writing agents, literary agents, and I got 2 offers, Josh, and this is wild. So this is back in like 2012. I got 2 offers for the story. I was calling it The Days of the Deluge back then, which I don't think is the best title now.
That sounds cool though.
Days of the Deluge, and I even did a Kickstarter campaign which failed because nobody knew about me, so I didn't have anyone to promote it to. But I sent letters out as young unpublished authors would do, and they tried to send letters out to different publishing houses and letter agents, and I got 2 offers back, and one of the offers was they wanted like total control. They basically they didn't want me to have any control over anything, which is a huge no-no. And there, of course, the excuse was, well, you're not a published author, nobody knows you, we're gonna have to front a lot of money up front. And so that was back in 2012. The other offer said, well, we'll give you 5% of royalties, and we'll keep 95%. Oh, and by the way, we also want 100% control over the characters, in case we want to do something with them on the side, or in case we want to change the characters. And that's your immediate red flag. This is why it's so well known in the publishing industry about the quote unquote gatekeepers. Mm-hmm. People that they see a story, they see the truth in the story, they do not want this to be published. So they either want to have full rights to shelf it. They'll say, yeah, we'll give you an upfront advance. We'll set you up in a couple markets, and you may sell 10, 20,000 copies, but then they shelve it. And they say, people just didn't respond to it. Sorry, too bad. You know what I mean?
Yep. Wow.
So this is an easy way how they can basically control the character rights and change the characters completely in your story. So by the time you get to book 2 in a trilogy, they can rewrite the whole thing. And so, of course, I declined both offers, and I thought, I'm going to have to go to I'm just going to have to try to do a Kickstarter and try to do this myself. And I tried that. That was not successful again because I didn't know enough people. So, I didn't have a YouTube channel back then. I didn't have anyone that was aware of me like we do now. And so it just wasn't time, basically, So then in the past, I don't know, year or so, I was like, Father, I really feel like I need to publish this book sooner or later, but I think you put it on my heart to do this series instead. So I've adapted the trilogy into an animated series. And so I'm having to rewrite some things for the sake of the screenplay. But ultimately, I hope it appeals to everyone from the ages of 13 to 55. Like that's our goal, is to reach multiple generations. You can all sit together and watch an episode of Days of Noah and learn the concept of the history of the scriptures as you are watching the interaction, and hopefully a fun and entertaining way.
Well, that would be awesome, because that's what we're always looking for as parents. I mean, I have all these children, and it's like wanting to sit down and they want to watch something. You can't find hardly anything that we can all just sit down and watch. And usually we have to go back to the old shows from like the 70s, and it's hard to find something wholesome from this generation. So this is something that would be cool to go along with a lot of people that are homeschooling. They could include, you know, the book of Enoch, and you've got a good book of that, a study version of that, the contextual study guide version. And so like doing things like that, I think would be phenomenal, because there is a lot of people that are going back to, you know, bringing their children to truth while it's still legal. I know I found out when we had Maria from Greece. She came over and visited us after the premiere. She flew here to watch it and hang out, and she said it's illegal to homeschool where she's at. And then I started looking, and I'm like, it's illegal in many places to teach your children. Like, that is mind blowing. I thought there's just no way. But yeah, that is like, that's happening in a lot of countries where you can't even do that. So we're fortunate we can here in the US. And so having something like this to go along with biblical creation types of classes, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, we're excited because in the storyline is the firmaments. So they're going to understand where they are. There is no helio deception back then. They all know where they are. They know where the angels of heaven are. They know where the Almighty is and his son, because the writings of Enoch tell them all this information. So both Noah's family and the rebellious watchers and their Nephilim children, they all know the storyline. And of course, the average person in this story is being controlled by the evil forces of the assembly. And so they're the ones being deceived from the true knowledge. They're the ones being retaught their origin story, retaught their history. And so you're going to see that play out in some of the dynamic as far as how one of the main characters in season 1 is Jared. So, you know, it says the sons of man came down the days of Jared.
Mm-hmm.
So, the sons of God came down in the days of Jared. And so a lot of people never really talk about some of these people before Noah, you know, like you get to the point of Noah and they're like, oh, Noah, and they think of the ark, and they don't think about his father Lamech or his grandfather Methuselah or his great, you know, obviously Enoch is, then they talk about the seventh from Adam, Enoch, because of the book, First Enoch. But then they don't talk about Enoch's father, Jared, or Jared's father, Mahalalel. You know, and so like what were these people like? What did they do? You know, this is where we get to portray a fun interaction of multiple generations where Mahalalel, you know, is in his he's over 500 years old. So he's got lots and lots of time to be around. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Methuselah. By the end of the story, Methuselah is going to be towards the flood. He's going to be 969 years old, but he doesn't get on the boat. So what is that like to be around someone for hundreds of years? What kind of knowledge do they have? So this is why all of these characters are not just boring men who are just standing on the outside of whatever civilizations are there. No, in the opening episode, as you'll see coming in October, Jared is already engaged with people trying to bring them out of the deception, because this is a family of priests. That means inherently they're trying to teach people to go back to worshiping the Almighty, to do what's right, to avoid the deceptions being perpetrated on all mankind. The similarities of this world versus ours today, very, very, very similar. I mean, maybe minus indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
But
who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they had Tempur-Pedic mattresses, but they did have technology. They did have an awareness of good and evil. They did literally imagine seeing a city and the rebellious angels are walking around inside that city. Like this is an incredible opportunity to show people what the Bible has always said, but I've never seen anyone portray it.
Yeah, I haven't either. And this, especially in this fashion, like this is something that we've dreamed about, you know, that I thought, man, I would love to be a part of a project that does something like that, where you're literally displaying the true creation model in a real nice fashion. I mean, the artwork is phenomenal. I like Methuselah. I'm thinking that's based on Wes Blaze, because that's when I saw that. I was like, you guys are trying to put him in the cart into the series and animate him.
Well, that's going to be the cool part. So we are going to take in episode 1 towards the end of the episode, or excuse me, in season 1 towards the end of the season, we are going to do a contest for one of our patrons. And if they want to be a character in the story, we can put them into the story and draw them up. And so it'll be a contest we'll do just for the Days of Noah Patreon members. If you want to actually be a character in the story in the future. So yeah, it's interesting because what did these people look like? Well, they talk about, like in this depiction here, Noah's 200, but he's the young guy. So But so they're not just boring men. Like they're all skilled in some way. They're all warrior priests, because this is the idea of righteous men of God who are willing to stand up against evil. So yeah, we've got on our Patreon, Days of No Patreon, we have character cards from any of the characters that we're releasing. And it shows some of their attributes and what they're good at, like which weapons they're good at, what their gifts of the spirit are, what, like, just kind of a mix of who this character is. And then of course you can see in the very far bottom, as the seasons progress, we're going to see Noah progress as well. All the characters are going to progress, even the giants that are involved. But obviously the rebellious angels, they're not going to age, because they have eternal bodies that can only be destroyed in the lake of fire. So they don't age the same way, but they're going to have to figure out different ways to interact with mankind, because they're constantly striving for total control. And so this is where you start to see, over the different seasons, you'll start to see different forms of Nephilim, as the book of Enoch references, the book of Jubilees references. So we're super excited just to bring something like this to life, just to show that this is a story that it's not legend, it's not myth. It's, the Bible did not borrow this from Mesopotamian mythology. If we believe the Bible in Genesis 11, we believe the Tower of Babel, where all the nations came from after they started speaking different languages, then any version of gods that came down from the heaven and created a hybrid mankind, which is the Babylonian creation tells, any version of that literally would just been some sort of offshoot version of what they learned as descendants of Noah. And Noah lived 350 years after the flood. How many generations did he come in contact with, who then, after the Tower of Babel, went out and started a nation, or became the heads of nations, and taught their children some version that they had heard from this great wise guy Noah, the old man Noah? You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
this is why there are, in over 200 cultures, there are stories about a great worldwide flood, and a man one family that was saved through it.
Yeah, that's what makes me mad. I see people going, how come all these other cultures talk about the flood? They must not have died. I'm like, you literally have to keep reading, reading how this story would have spread after the flood. Like, it's not like no one survived to tell that story and pass it on, and then everybody built a tower and got dispersed. Like, the story tells you how.
That's right. Yeah, and so not only will there be bad angels, but there'll also be good angels involved as well. In the first season, we're going to see both Uriel and Michael. Those at least are two of the ones that'll be named. And so, but they're going to be, Lord willing, I'll be able to portray them in a way that doesn't seem too overpowered or hokey. You know what I mean? That's the goal, is to try to make certain things subtle, so you build tension when you're writing a story, so that there are some stakes involved for the protagonists that are overcoming the antagonists. And so, yeah, we're super excited. In fact, this particular scene you're seeing here, this is not the full scene. There's actually been elements that have been withdrawn from this scene, so we don't give away the fullness of episode 1. But this is a scene from episode 1, and that mountain behind them, this line where the river runs, is the actual territory of the Garden of Eden. So
wow.
inside this territory, deeper inside this territory, is the actual garden. But this is just the boundary line of where this river runs. And as I have set up in the story, the Nephilim, their societies, and the rebellious assembly, they can't cross this line. They can't get past this. They can, but there'll be serious consequences. So there's a mutual understanding of the boundaries. In the scriptures, multiple places, Psalms, Deuteronomy, different places, it says that Yahweh hates those who remove the ancient boundary stones. And so this is a very unique concept about how he had his own land, was called the garden, in a territory that the garden was a structure, according to the Hebrew terminology of what a garden is. It was a walled off structure that was placed inside the territory of Eden. So in the backdrop of this storyline is Noah and his family. They're living in the territory of Eden, but not inside the garden itself. But the garden is in the backdrop.
Yes. Wow.
So there will be in this concept. And of course, if we believe Enoch and Jubilees, that is actually where, at this point in the storyline, that is actually where Enoch has been taken. So there's going to be a unique portrayal of how are they living in a world where they can literally see in the distance the Garden of Eden, but they can't get in there. What is that? What does that do for dispelling the lies of the rebellious angels to the regular civilizations? And so we've got some unique ways that we're trying to portray that, and it culminates in episode 16 of season 1 with Methuselah and all. It's just obviously I can't give it away; it'd be a spoiler, but it's gonna. We're very excited. Yeah. We're very, very excited. But if anybody does want to help be a part of this and help us get this fully funded, you can go to daysofnoah.tv.
And their links are in the description.
Yeah, the video description, I think, has the links.
Go down and
you also can go to Days of Noah on Patreon. And but if you go to www.daysofnoah.tv, that's the website for the project, and you can donate to the project directly from that website. And I think it's even got a running total trying to get to our total goal. Now doing something like this, Josh, is not easy and it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So this the goal for this for season 1 is $250,000. Now that's literally a drop in the bucket compared to, like, if you look on Netflix and you see the type of animes that they're putting out on Netflix, you'll even see them being advertised on YouTube. Those are literally probably $1 to $2 million per episode. Those are like high budget. We're going to do our best with the artwork, and I think you'll be very pleased with what we've been doing to be competitive in that way with the team that we do have. But it's not going to be a $50 million production for a single season. But we're super excited because we can accomplish the story. The story itself is heads and tails more interesting than any other story I know that's out there. And there's so many believers that want to know about this time period, but their churches have told them that the Bible doesn't explain it, because their churches are using an edited version of the Bible that we, in the West here in America, we've been, over time, we've been given an edited version of the Bible. Other countries across the world and other groups of communities of believers have had other books in their canons that give a lot of these details. And it's a shame that for whatever reason, our culture has a very edited version of the scriptures.
Yeah. We actually have an Enoch study every Sabbath with our supporters, and we had this lady come on. She's one of our supporters, and she said that her grandmother, when she was a child, she was from Poland, would read her the Book of Enoch when she was a child. Like, that is really cool.
Wow.
And I was like, I've never heard of anybody, that had that experience growing up, that they're getting read the Book of Enoch when they were young. So it was easier for her, she said, to wake up to the truth about creation. And, as she was older, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, man, that is cool.
Yeah. So we've got, by the time we get to some of the furthering episodes in season 1 of the Days of Noah, you're going to see one of the population centers, one of the cities that is controlled by some of the rebellious angels, is literally right next to the firmament. And it's intentional because they're trying to figure out the power that's flowing through the firmament and how they can use it to do what they need to do. And I can't give away too much, but I'm trying to speak in vague terms here. But imagine if there were no ice on Antarctica, but instead it was actually a livable, green, inhabitable place. And so this is where, in our estimation and understanding of the flood itself, this is where in Genesis 8, not only did waters go back into the fountains of the deep, but also receded on the top of the surface of the earth. And then that's where we would have all that extra buildup of ice on the outer rim next to the firmament that we call Antarctica today.
Wow. So
imagine if it wasn't all that ice there, because, Josh, in some places they say it's 1.5, 2 miles thick of ice in Antarctica. But imagine what's, if it was a lush green place that you could live. So this is a very interesting concept, and there's a reason they're there. So there's, like in the book of Job, chapter 1 and 2, it says that Satan, that the angels, at a course of times, the angels presented themselves to God, and Satan came with them. And so we've taught on our channel that shouldn't be a surprise to us if we study the law of God, because 3 times a year in the law of God, all the males that serve Yahweh, according to his law, they're supposed to go present themselves to him. Mm-hmm. So it should not be strange language to see in the book of Job something about going on in heaven that the angels are presenting themselves to Yahweh. And then on this one occasion, Satan comes with them. And then, of course, Yahweh says to Satan, "Oh, where have you been?" And Satan says, "Oh, going around the earth, running up and down on the earth."
Walking
So,
around the ball.
yeah, not around the ball, up and down. Yeah, I know, right? And so, how did he get there is the logical question I would hope people would ask. We hope to draw people's minds to the fullness of the creation model in a visualized story where they're interacting with the creation model because they know where they are. And they know the angels can no longer, according to Enoch 15, the angels can no longer go back to heaven where they came from. Like Jude says, they left their first estate. They left their first inhabitable domain. They took wives and created families on the earth in mass corruption, which was not appointed for them, as First Enoch 15 talks about. So they were part of their punishment before they were locked away in Tartarus was they could not go back up to heaven. So but Azazel can. Satan can. So what does that look like? How does that work? Does he float up? Because there's a firmament enclosing the earth. How does he get through that? Well, the Bible tells us that the waters of the flood, Genesis 7:11, came down through the windows of the firmament, the floodgates of the firmament. We're told in the book of Enoch that there are actual portals where the angels monitor these portals and let different winds from 12 different portals that circumvent the entirety of the plane of the earth, 12 different portals that allow different types of wind in, which causes different weather patterns. A lot of people aren't aware of this, reality. We did on Uncommon Ground, Josh, I think it was episode 4 of season 1. I showed a Russian, it was clips. It was all dubbed in English, but it was originally a Russian station in Antarctica where it's a weather station. And they claim that that's where all of the weather services of the entire earth gets their weather is from this Russian weather station in Antarctica, because it's the most accurate in that station as far as creating the weather patterns that go out to the rest of the world.
Oh, well, wow. That would make so much sense.
But that seems crazy, right? You're like, how does, if we lived on a ball, like how does the Antarctica on the bottom of this ball at a 23-degree tilt, like how the weather down there affect, weather in the Arctic or Russia or Greenland or North America? How possible, but if you lived on a flat plane, and Enoch is correct, and there's 12 actual windows that are consequently used by angels to let different types of weather patterns in upon the command of the Almighty.
Yeah.
And that would make a lot more sense why it's the most accurate way to determine weather patterns at the edge of the circle of the earth, because you're close to those portals. So I just think it's a fascinating concept. So we get to portray and talk about all these things in this story, not in an overt way of just too much exposition, but like it's all integrated into the story itself, as far as why they're there, what they're trying to accomplish, and ultimately we have a story about rebellious angels who know their punishment is on the way. They've been already told by Enoch what the punishment's going to be, and they're doing everything they can to figure a way out of that punishment. So essentially, they are trapped here. The Nephilim can't go above the firmament. The rebellious angels, all except Azazel, they can't go above the firmament anymore. They're all trapped here. The only place they will be going is to Tartarus once the judgment actually happens. So what is the mindset? What is the slow psychosis and the slow mental breakdown that occurs over many hundreds of years, knowing that your judgment's coming and that's what's happening? And how does that relate to their cruelty or their different machinations of deception? So yeah, it's an amazing story that we get to show in an animated format, because trying to do this in like live action would require hundreds of millions of dollars that nobody has. Yeah. So trying to do this in animated format is probably the best right now, and trying to teach these ideas and how relevant they are to understanding where you live, why Enoch was shown so many wonderful prophecies of the second coming of Christ, because it literally was it was their impending doom. They knew that they can't get back to heaven, and the chosen one, the elect one, the Son of Man, would be sent by the Almighty to ultimately be their final demise in the lake of fire. First Enoch talks about that too. So it's just an amazing story that I think has never been told, in my opinion, from this perspective. And we're super humbled and super grateful that we're trying it.
And I think it's going to make the rest of the Bible make sense for this youth that are, and anyone watching this and learning about this. true account, because they'll understand why these demons, when Yeshua was talking to them and they were saying who they were, and they were wondering if they were going to be tormented before their time. Like you said, they know there's a time coming. That's awful. That's their existence. They know they're going to be punished. They know there's no reward for them for what they've done. And so it makes the entire spiritual warfare that we're in right now make a lot more sense. So that's cool.
Yeah, we're super excited. Would you like to do you want to play? We have a teaser for actual episode 1. So at the opening of the show, Josh played a teaser for the entire series, but we have a teaser just for the first episode. If you guys want a little sneak peek.
Yeah, let me put this up. I'm gonna remove us real quick. That was cool. I mean, that animation is ridiculous. Like
we're super excited. I think the animators, the artists are excited as well, just because it's like drawing something they've always wanted to draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's with purpose. Yeah, like I think Drew, I've been watching him on Facebook share, like he wakes up excited to get started. I'm sure he probably wakes up at like 5 a.m. and just starts going to work.
Yeah, it's super exciting. A lot of work involved, and I'm so grateful that these guys also saw the vision, and they're just wanting to support it and see it become a reality, because this is, to me, if you could, think about like all the and ridiculously like demonic style shows and cartoons you've seen over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of it has little inklings of what the Bible talks about, but then it's twisted in some way,
Yes.
But now imagine an actual story that tells you what the Bible actually says. How would people react to that? We're just excited to see. But unfortunately, we can't do this alone. This is a group effort, right? It's a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to be a part of the team, you can become a supporter of the series through the website or also through the Patreon. And of course, with, some people do both. Some people will, because they just want to give us a select amount, a specific amount through the website. But then they also become a patron at whatever tier is good for them, so they can see all the extra behind the scenes content that we put up on the Patreon. And so stuff that, you won't see on the Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages for Days of Noah. But we're excited. We're very excited. This is, to me, it's a story that's, not only does it make more sense of things like 2 Peter 2:4 that talks about the angels that sinned,
mm-hmm.
but it makes more sense of this idea of who is this dragon character, this Satan character, and why is he the one that's always being mentioned? And from Genesis 6 forward, it's always him. He's always the bad angel that's being mentioned. Why is it just him? Because the traditional Christian teaching is they claim that Satan fooled a third of heaven's angels, and they did. It's an extrapolation. It's an interpretive view that they base off Revelation 12. So they claim that Satan fooled a third of heaven's angels, which would be like potentially billions if you do the math correctly with myriads upon myriads upon myriads, as the Hebrew writers say. That we don't see that though in the scriptures. We only see the unclean spirits, and those aren't angels. Those are defined for us what those are. Those were created before the flood. They were considered the Nephilim, this weird hybrid offspring from the fallen angels, the rebellious angels. But there was only 200 rebellious angels, not potentially billions, all third of heaven. No, it's not like a third of heaven didn't like the Almighty, and they didn't rebel from heaven. They only the 200 rebelled once they got down to the earth, and that's kind of the part that people seem to glaze over so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, but then think about, since the days of Jared, which is when these rebellious angels rebelled, up to now, how many other angels have come and gone from the earth and not made the same bad mistake?
Exactly.
They retained their righteousness. They remained cognizant of what their mission was and didn't get fooled by the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, or whatever. And then they went back home to their abode in heaven and waited for the next mission to go help mankind. This is what Hebrews 1:14 explains to us, that angels are, the ministering servants sent out to those who are inheriting salvation. So they come and go between heaven and earth with their missions, and only 200 of them out of the entire family of angels in heaven, only 200 of them rebelled. So like, even this strange Christian like interpretation that there was a third of them that was rebelled, that assumes that heaven, God can't even control heaven. But that's not what the Bible says. It's just a very, very minute portion of these dudes went rogue once they got down here, and they couldn't get back to heaven. They wanted to get back to heaven, but they couldn't. It's because they had defiled themselves with the blood of women. So like, the whole story, if you tell it accurately according to the scriptures, it venerates the Father that much more. It doesn't see it. It takes the power away from the dragon all the more. Yep. He's not as big and scary as people try to make him out to be. There's a reason why he fled like lightning from Christ. He's not. There's a reason why he has to go up to Christ and ask and try to trick Christ into transgressing. He can't just force Jesus's hand to do something. In the same way he can't force your hand. Otherwise, there's penalties and consequences according to the law. And this is what he saw his other brethren receive, those consequences. And so Josh, the way I've always tried to describe Satan is because the book of Enoch refers to him as Azazel, as specifically an angel called Azazel. He seems as if he's the greatest lawyer of all of them. Like, he's got that lawyer mindset where he knows the law and he knows how to skirt the law without getting in trouble. That's why he can still remain. Whereas his other brethren from heaven, they didn't take that same subtle approach, and they transgressed so heavily that judgment happened to them before the flood, where he's not going to be fully judged until the second coming. So yeah, there's a ton of, and what is the mindset of the ancient world before the flood as far as the scriptures go? What did they have a Bible of any kind? We see in the book of Enoch was a scribe of righteousness who had all these writings. And it says in the later chapters, he called his son Methuselah and all his sons before him and grandsons and taught them the writings of Enoch, and then passed them down, and then Noah would receive them. And so that means they have some sort of written literature, which were all the prophecies and the words of Enoch that they kept and held on to. That was like their Bible, if you will, right? That they would teach and read to people. I get to show that in the story, in a really fun way, in my opinion, and how they did not want the rebellious angels to have access to these manuscripts, because it had prophecies of their destruction. It had prophecies of things coming in the future. Yeah. And so there was like this unique tension that's just inherently already there due to the natural fact that believers, extended family, acquaintances, people that the Bible doesn't name, believers in general who would have been faithful to Yahweh before the flood, did have access to the writings of prophets, which were passing on the words of the Almighty. So they did have a hope and encouragement. First Enoch talks about the resurrection, talks about the commandments of God, talks about the feasts of God. All this stuff is eternal. It talks about being tied directly to the luminaries. So like they had a working knowledge of where they lived, what the Creator expected of them, what the Creator promised them through the covenant, even unto eternal life. I mean, that's literally in chapter 5 of First Enoch. It talks about the resurrection of the saints. So like they knew the story. It wasn't like they were just alone in some world that was foreign, and some BC world that was just completely overrun with evil. Don't get me wrong, it was overrun with evil closer you get to the flood, but the Father always, like Paul talks about in Romans 6, where sin abounds, grace increases all the more. So like the Father has his own counter strategies. So when the rebellious rogue angels are going after mankind to deceive them into killing themselves, what does the Father do? He steps up with his own strategies. And so we're just super honored that we get to try to portray this in a fun animated way to show you what could that possibly have looked like, which would put Noah and his family in a place leading up to the ark to be spared.
Yeah, so that's so cool. Yeah, I'm sharing in the comments the testing Enoch video we did. Where you were talking about a lot of these things, and we were looking at how it ties in to the Word and clarify so many things. Just kind of looking at it with more scrutiny. The Book of Enoch, because it's one of those that I looked at, and when I first started reading it, I was like, you feel like you're not supposed to be reading this book because it's like everybody's told you not to, and but it's like I just was like, reading it would, let the Holy Spirit guide you when you do these things, and make sure you're not being misled by some, because everybody's like, it's mysticism and it's all these different things. And I read it and I'm like, this just aligns with the Bible. It prophesies about the globe model. It tells us it's for a group of people at the end times. It talks about things that are going on right now. It's just like, to me, it's been such a tool to unlocking the Word and what we're up against more than anything. I don't think it's not misled me in any way or changed my views. It's only solidified my views of the Messiah, my views of his purpose, my views of the Father's long suffering. Like, it gives you a compassion for what he's been through and watching, his creation get corrupted. Like, and it gives you a tour of the creation model. So, I mean, there's nothing harmful in this book. If you think it's fiction, okay, read it. It gives a good description of things and has accurate prophecies that have come true. And it was also in the Dead Sea Scrolls that were kept before Christ. Like, there's so many different things about it, and all of the arguments I see against it don't really stand up. They seem like they do when you first hear them and you haven't done any studying. But watch that testing Enoch. I just put the link in the comment. It was one of our last lives. I think it was our second to last live video before this one, and we need to do like a part 2 or something for that one, because that was powerful. We had Wes Blaze on here, Sean, and I think Matt Beavers was on. It was pretty epic. One of my favorite live hangouts. Thank you. Somebody just did a super chat. Run Boston Bear. Thank you so much. Josh and Sean, your channels and all you do and share the truth and push back darkness are such a blessing. Praise y'all and his beloved Son and Spirit. Thank you. Thank you for that. Means a lot. Means a lot. But yeah, everybody is tuning in now. If you're wanting to support this, you've seen some of the trailers. We've got another little video behind the scenes look we'll show here in just a second. But all the links are in the description to support, to find more of Sean's work. I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, having a Bible scholar do something like this is a blessing and a gift. We've seen people in the past, like Rob Skiba had this big project going on, and we were all hoping to see it happen. So I still hope to see that come through with Seed. A lot of people were talking about that in the comments, like, oh my goodness, yeah, this brings back memories from that. So like, this one is going to be coming out soon. October, is that still the date? I had that.
Yeah, October 22nd, 2023. It's at the end of the Kingdom Crew Conference. That Sunday night, we're going to be premiering episode 1 of the Days of Noah series. And Josh, I sent you something to messengers now. It's an image from the series that some of the people that just saw the trailers, they might be interested in, like, what is this? What's going on here with this? Kind of confused about what they're seeing on screen, considering it's a pre-flood world.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me pull that up. Days of Noah. Present. Oops. My video file. Sorry, I've gotten really rusty with StreamYard, trying to upload just a picture. Downloads. Nope. Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties. Let me see if I can just share the screen and or pull up that video and mute it if it lets me. I think it was this one. It was the last video we showed, right? The
no, it was it's an image I sent you.
Okay. I was trying to get it.
If you want to pause it, yeah, that's
just going to see if I could pause it. For some reason.
I think you passed it, maybe.
Oh, I passed it.
Yeah.
There it is, right there.
If you pause it right there. So these are what we call the grand vessels, and these are the actual transportation cities for the rebellious angels, for what we call the assembly. So the in the story setup, the rebellious angels are, like I said, there's 200 in total, but they don't all hang out in the same place. So all across the earth, they've established different spots of civilization where they control. They try to maintain them. But sometimes they travel between the cities, and this is their main mode. Obviously, these are angels. They could fly and really fast if they wanted to. But they only reveal that type of power that they have in the procession of the gods, which is a once a year festival, which you'll see in episode 10 of season 1. And so in the meantime, though, they have their grand vessels that take them to and fro, to which a lot of the giants are with them. They're some of their elite guardians that will be part of their brute force, if you will, their security force. They'll go with them. So since the giants can't fly, that's why they had to have vessels to carry them around. But it's a fascinating concept because Drew came up with this design, and I loved it because Drew has seen our Investigating Babylon series.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, okay, so because I described the Quicksilver orb in this concept inside the grand vessel, which is what you see at the top there. It looks like a little ring is around. So you see that little dome on the top, and then you see a little shiny ball on top, and then there's a ring around the ball. So that's a Quicksilver orb, which is causing the levitation aspect for the entire vessel. And so this is what we talked about in our Investigating Babylon series, that was the testimony of ancient India, and how they had these, what they called pushpakas, which were these massive city-sized, could hold 3,000-4,000 people-sized vimanas that could fly, and the gods would fly in those. And that was post-flood, by the way. That was 4,000 years ago.
Yeah,
according to the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what they claimed was possible, and they even talked about how they were powered by the mercury inside of the pushpakas, or the vimanas. And this is where I showed in our Investigating Babylon series that even NASA themselves built a mercury engine in the late 70s based off these ideas.
Wow.
And they have it in a museum, aerospace museum, of this mercury engine, and they even have the patent number and everything online. So because NASA's been stealing ideas from ancient India since they've been alive, since they've been in as an organization. It's literally the design of the little capsules that don't go anywhere, but they just drop them in the ocean and do a photo op with. Those capsule designs are literally the designs of ancient vimanas from ancient India.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much they steal, I think, from the ancient wisdom, the wisdom of the fallen, these things. That's why there was these rituals done with like Jet Propulsion Laboratories, Jack Parson doing these rituals before these things would take off, like very satanic stuff that is associated with just the origins of these corporations. Of course, we look at them as trustworthy government agency programs that wouldn't lie because there's just too many people involved. But yeah, they've definitely taken this technology, I'm sure, to create the illusions in the sky, some of the ones you see.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at the bottom, you can't see it because of cloud. If you let it go like a couple more seconds in the video, you'll see towards the bottom. Oh, it already went away. But at the bottom of the grand vessels, you have the loges, which are these, the grand vessels will hover in the sky, but the loges are those little silver boxes at the bottom of the vessel that they'll then detach. And then that is the actual transport that you see descending to the earth, which is you've seen in the opening trailer, where the 3 rebellious angels are standing inside what looks like a glass encasement, but it's actually made of firmament, and we'll explain that later as well, because they know what the firmament's made of. So they're going to make something that's their actual transport vehicle down to the ground.
That is cool.
It's really exciting just to kind of portray some of these concepts throughout history that the ancient world talked about was a part of the ruling class of little g gods and the type of technology they possessed.
Have no other gods before me.
Which, you know, with all the current NASA deception and the alien deception, you know, the whole concept of disclosure and all the different new videos that are popping up about different types of vehicles that are flying around in the air being reported by different types of jet pilots, and they seem to not have any type of propulsion. Well, that's not new. Literally, the ancient Indians have it written down in their Vedic texts and described with great details, in great detail, like even like what kind of piloting maneuvers the pilots of these vimanas needed to understand and know to do them responsibly. And I show texts in the Investigating Babylon series where there's a crossover from a guy in the Babylonian area who was he had translated in the days of the Romans. He had translated stuff from the Indian texts about the Vimanas, which was a letter to, I think it was like the Hasmoneans, not the Hasmoneans, that's wrong. It was a letter to the Indo-Babylonians, as I think was the particular people group around the area of Iran. And this was a part of the Babylonian, like somebody in the Babylonian Empire, or excuse me, the Roman Empire, that was talking about Vimanas and how it was a gift from the gods that were given these flying machines that could descend from heaven to earth, and that they were a great responsibility to be able to pilot these things, and that not everybody was given that responsibility. So this whole thing is designed to show you what the scriptures have always talked about in history, so that you can understand the deceptions that are being played out, as you know, is the final card, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the upcoming deception, and that's why this stuff is so important. Our children not being brainwashed, because most of the world's going to fall for the things that, and a lot of them are for already what's happening. The disclosure about the non-human biologics they're finding with these alien crafts, these out of this world technology, like the things that they're already saying, the language that's out there from our own government, trusted officials. Like, our children are seeing these things, they're sharing these things on TikTok, and they really have to be rooted in the true biblical creation model to not fall for these things, or have some really good spiritual discernment, because it's going to be hard for us to tell these people, like, hey, this stuff is not real. Well, why is it not real? Why can't it be real? Why can't that alien be from another planet? Like, we have to have proof. And so these things like this that bring children to the firmament and the creation model is a really good tool for unbrainwashing your children, who are bombarded with globe stuff constantly on ads, commercials, cartoons, kid shows. Like, space and dinosaurs is the two biggest things they push onto our children. Anywhere, clothing, it doesn't even have to be on cartoons. When they go to school, they're seeing it on lunch boxes and shirts, and it's just everywhere. Every science museum. I mean, that was one of my favorite things about the museum, was going there and digging up the dinosaur bones in the little sand pits they had as a kid. Like, so excited, like you actually feel like you're going to find a dinosaur bone in this little sand pit when you're, you know, brainwashed and you're 7 years old, you know, doing these things. Like, and seeing the giant rockets and things, like, it just makes you in awe, having no clue how foolish it really is.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. In fact, we talk about on our channel, we've reviewed this type of history, that the ancient Vedic texts talk about the tremendous din, which is a word for like a tremendous blast of fire, by which these vimanas would lift off in the sight of the people in the ancient days of ancient India, and that it was powered in some specific way by what was called quicksilver, which is a type of mercury engine. And it's fascinating that even like, just so you understand that not only is history important, but it's actively being used in the modern day to perpetuate deception against the average person who's ignorant of these ideas. What I mean by that is, NASA in 1984, there was a particular programmer for NASA that was working on artificial intelligence back in the 80s for NASA. And he said that Sanskrit, which was the ancient language of the Vedic texts, was the perfect language for AI in the 1980s. Ancient Sanskrit. And by the way, Josh, in case you're not aware, in ancient Sanskrit, the word NASA means destruction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So these guys, the people that are perpetuating deception in the modern day understand history, and all this is, in my humble opinion, is they're going to be revealing the ancient tech that's always been here since the days of the Watchers taught men the secrets of heaven they were desiring to know. This is what the book of First Enoch explains, is that they were, one of the reasons they were in trouble was because the Almighty was mad at them, because they not just because they took wives, but they taught men sorcery, they taught them astrology, they taught them different forms of alchemy, they taught them advanced knowledge that was in order to corrupt them, not because the knowledge was inherently bad, but it was being used to corrupt, right? So it's not inherently bad to know how to mix chemicals together and create a chemical compound for something. This is like, 101 botany, right? But if you're doing it to create pharmakia, which is to change how you were created and create some sort of chimera or Nephilim style concept, well, then you're corrupting what God had made, and you're corrupting mankind and teaching mankind to corrupt himself. So this is where I think it's very important that we understand history. We know where these deceptions come from, and we feel like it's a really powerful way, and create an anime style show about this. It's a really powerful way to reach the culture, because anime is huge. I don't know what experience you have, Josh, with this, but the anime world is a massive, where a lot of kids, even up to 30s and 40s, people are really, this is a strong influence in the culture.
Yeah, they say they get lost in these things. Like they're so good. Like the stories behind the anime is so much better than the other genres out there, and they talk about it, and it's like that's what they devote a lot of their time to, is watching these things. So getting something like this to fly under the radar and go right in there, because I mean, there's I think there's one called like Attack on Titan, where they literally have the Nephilim type of thing going on, and these kids are like hooked on it, and they talk about it all the time. And I mean, it's huge. It becomes a part of their culture. And so I remember bringing that up to my son, because he was into doing little art things. And I said, man, it'd be nice if we had somebody that could use that style to create something for the youth to lure them in. And he's like, no, I don't know. I'm like, I'm telling you, this would be a hit. And so it's kind of,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Once you're watching it, you don't have to tell your children that this is a Christian concept.
Yeah.
Just let them start watching. Just watch it. Just be quiet and let them watch it and see what happens.
Yeah. And then later on, open up the book of Enoch and be like, oh my goodness, this was in the show. And like, get them. Like,
yeah. But when you start seeing, because look, the average person, especially children, they're smart. They pick up themes, right? So the theme of, like let's find something like a bad 80s cartoon, like He-Man. Remember He-Man? And he was fighting Skeletor, right?
Yeah.
So kids inherently understand that He-Man's supposed to be the good guy, and he's fighting against these people that want to take over things that are the bad guy. And so they understand inherently who's the good and the bad guys, and what the threat level is within the series. So if I could put it like that.
Yeah.
But they don't understand sometimes, because unless they're older, they may not catch some of the spiritual weaved concepts that are subtly weaved into the story, but their subconscious does. This is why it's called indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just how all storytelling works. All storytelling works like this. So this is why a lot of times in the Bible, when you're reading about people like like Jacob, right, in the book of Genesis, you understand that he's being oppressed by his father-in-law Laban, and he has to get away from him. And you understand that he serves the God of heaven, and that he's wanting God to protect him on his journey so he can get back home to his father Isaac. And you understand these things, and that Isaac and Jacob were considered faithful unto Yahweh to serve the Most High God. And it's often told to you, but in secular storytelling, they don't always just overtly tell you that the bad characters or the manipulative characters are worshiping demons or Satan. They won't just come out right out and say that. I mean, then it'd be too obvious.
Yeah.
It's portrayed in their actions in the story. So this is where usually the protagonist, up until like the last 10 years, the protagonist in a series was someone that was fighting for what was right or what was good. But only in the last 10 years has we have a cultural shift in a lot of TV and movies where there's called the the anti-hero. Have you heard that term, Josh?
No.
Okay, so this is something that they talk about, the anti-hero, which is basically the bad guy who's kind of on the border. He's not the baddest of the bad guys. He's kind of like neutrally, morally gray bad guy. And then they make him into the hero as he has a kind of like a moment of clarity and realizes that the really, really bad guys are really, really bad. And he can't be that bad. So while he's still a bad guy and he makes a lot of morally obtuse decisions, he eventually fights for what's right, either reluctantly or because it was forced upon him to do so, because the really, really bad guys came after him. You see that in a ton of movies nowadays.
Yeah, that is becoming common.
Yeah, what it does is it blurs the lines of morality in the story. So when in storytelling, if you don't have a clearly defined protagonist, which is your hero, then you have to find an anti-hero. Otherwise, you're going to have a story about a bunch of bad guys fighting each other, and that is the story of Dune. It's 3 controlling empires trying to fight each other, and they're all got their own sense of moral grayness. So this is why, it's a sci-fi story called Dune from the 70s that's been made into different versions of movies over time. The latest incantation of it is Dune that's coming out, and even this year, part 2 is coming out. And people, it's a well-received, very popular and profitable movie series. But the whole point is you're just watching a bunch of bad guys fight each other. You're just watching different forms of witchcraft fight each other. It's like watching Harry Potter. Is the White Witch going to win, or is he who shall not be named, which is considered black magic, is he going to win? Right. So it's just a Hegelian dialectic of 2 different bad guys who none of them are doing the ways of the Almighty or the Creator. And which one, they get you rooting for one of the 2 bad guys. So imagine a story that doesn't do all that nonsense and doesn't try to indoctrinate you like that, but instead it's still compelling because of all the nature of everything that's in it. But it's not just outright, like Noah's not just walking up to people and saying, "I rebuke you." No, he has to actually go through the motions of changing the culture, preaching. Like he says, he's a preacher of righteousness. Well, what does that mean? It means he had to engage people.
Yeah.
It didn't mean he just shouted with a big bullhorn from the top, of the tree line. But he had to engage people to preach righteousness. Well, how do they do that? Well, that means you got to get involved in the culture. And so that means you got to handle objections. That means you're going to get thrown at you whatever indoctrination or lies or deceptions that the fallen angels had taught mankind during that time period. Noah had to be able to overcome those objections. And how is he going to do that? What proof did he have that these incredibly powerful beings were not actually good? That there were, so anyway, there's a lot there in the story to play with, and it doesn't have to be overtly said. It doesn't have to be like Methuselah just walks up and starts laying his hands and trying to cast out Nephilim, right? Because they still had bodies at this point. There were no unclean spirits running around without a body. So he can't go just cast them out in the normal way like we see post-flood. It's a totally different environment. And built into it is so many opportunities to tell a wonderful story that a family, a child, a teenager can sit down and watch and be entertained by what's going on and be subconsciously learning biblical principles about what's right and how to defend what's right in the face of giant odds, all pun intended.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think that the demons are going to be happy about this series at all. I don't know. They might.
What you see on the screen here is this is actually just one of the giants. His name is Nazdanon, and he's fighting other giants who are part of the Dissonance. And you'll see some of this storyline unfolding even in the first episode. And because Jared has been working with people that have kind of woken up to the deceptions of the assembly and they're just referred to generically as the Dissonance by the assembly and the giants, part of the Guardians. And so this is just a short clip from a battle scene here where Nazdanon and his hammer is fighting the other dissidents on the battlefield of Nod. So you remember in Genesis when Cain rebelled and it says he went to the east to the land of Nod?
Mm-hmm.
So this is happening this battle is taking place in the plains outside of the land of Nod, outside of the city of Nod. So you're bringing like I'm trying to bring a sense of realism to the scriptures to get you to think beyond, these are just fairy tales and myths. But no, these are real world consequences that we're still dealing with those consequences today.
Wow. I like how you do that with all these connections and like the things that you see with the Bible that people that just kind of glance at it from time to time don't see. And it does. It paints such a realistic, more accurate, I don't know, in context, I guess, version of a Bible show. Because our kids, they watch things like Superbook, and there's all these inaccuracies and whatnot. And it's like the globe, they're going out into outer space and stuff like it. This is going to be totally different. This is something that is kid friendly, adult friendly. It's a learning experience. I mean, for people who want to learn more about biblical history, this is perfect. Like you said, for any age. And like I'm going to be putting out some, I've been talking about the homeschool stuff, and it's hard to find time to work on it, but there's people of all ages that are interested in learning. It's not just children that are like wanting to learn now. It's people that are starting brand new from scratch, just now waking up to the truth. They could be 80 years old, wanting to see this stuff and learn and investigate it. So yeah, I like that this is something we could finally use as one of those tools as well.
That's awesome.
Might be a prerequisite to the course. You have to watch the Days of Noah series, then you can enroll in a course.
The Days of Noah would be like it's like recess. It's like in between classes, you get to sponge on something fun.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Roll out the little old TVs on a cart. And here you go.
That's funny.
Break. But yeah, did you want to show the behind the scenes or have?
Yeah. If you want to show that next, you're welcome to. So next, guys, we just got some. It's a video we made of some things from behind the scenes as far as production. It's what we call a production teaser, and hopefully you enjoy it and you get to see some fun stuff.
It's cool. It's my first time seeing this. I think I've missed this somehow. Let me.
You're on mute, brother.
Dang, twice in one show.
Right.
Good job.
I'll just take it as
Yeah,
a compliment that you're so impressed with what you saw.
Yeah, I was speechless. My mouths were moving. That was it. No words coming out. That was awesome. I was like seeing the comments too, as it was rolling through. People saying like, "That's amazing," and any flat Earth references in this film. And let's see.
Yes, it takes place under a firmament, so the whole thing is set inside biblical cosmology.
Woo-hoo. Good news for anyone just tuning in. That's the cool thing about this, and yeah, I like this comment. It is Photoshop because it has to be. Yeah. So this is awesome. I mean, like again, like you guys saw where to support. There's links in the description how to get this thing funded. I would love to see this thing go beyond the days of Noah and have, like just keep going. I mean, you don't have to change the name because it literally will end up back in the days of Noah.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing about it.
That's actually another project in the future called Satellite, but that's whole another story. I've got lots of books that I've lots of files where I've books that I've written, like, that are not ready or not finally edited or whatnot, different stories that tie in. But yeah, there's a whole nother modern version of the story that would have callbacks to the days of the Tower of Babel, but it's set in the modern day. It's called Satellite, but that's a totally different project for the future.
Yeah, that's cool because I've always envisioned a movie that ties in these things. It's like a long running, like almost like series. It almost have to be a series, but just shows, who they are, why they lie, from the demonic stuff from like the days of Noah stuff until you have them guarding Antarctica again and doing the things they're doing now, like just so people can see the whole picture in a movie. And it's like it just flashes through time, and that's kind of what this that's kind of what this is,
Hopefully, Lord willing, we'll be able to complete the whole series. Like, again, for anyone that just showed up, where our goal is to go 8 full seasons with approximately 16 episodes per season. So our idea is to put out 4 or 5 episodes at a time, take a little break for more production to catch up, and then put out another 4 or 5 every few months. And then, but Lord willing, if we hit our fundraising goals early, we'll be able to do more quicker. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we have the site set up. All those links are in the video description below. That's why we already got the Patreon set up for anyone that wants to become a supporter that way. And our goal is hefty. It's $250,000 for the first season, but that's because we're trying to do it right. We're trying to make this appealing to the culture, and not just in the United States, but across the world, because these types of projects are watched by people in all different countries. And so we want to have the funding so we can get the series produced in multiple languages, so we can be in different continents. But this is our prayer goals. This is our lofty prayer goals for this project. And we're just humbly asking for your support.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. It's like, I didn't even know you had this going on for a while. And then it seems like it's here, and then here it is. It's going to be visible in October. Like that's exciting.
Yeah, we've been working on it probably since February. And this is actually, I was going to do last year, about October of last year on our channel, I announced that we were working on a video game called Wisdom Guard, which was going to be about fighting giants in the woods. And but that we had interruptions with production of that video game because of the some of the creators, the people that were programming it. And so I decided to put that on hold, but because I wanted to use the characters in this. So in the future, 2024, we do plan to finish the Wisdom Guard video game, but it's going to be with characters from the Days of Noah series. So
that's cool.
Yeah, we've got big plans. We've got really big plans, but we can't do it by ourselves. You can't go in typical cases. You can't just go to a production company and say, "Hey, would you help me create this?" Because they're going to be like, well, again, like I talked about with the book publishing, they're going to want full rights, which means they want distribution rights, where they can show it on whether it's Amazon Fire Stick or a Roku app, or if they want to be able to show it on, to try to sell rights to Netflix or to Amazon Prime. If you get a third party involved to help you with distribution, production, they want ownership. They want percentages of it. We don't want outside people who don't agree with the vision or the theology of this thing to have any say in any of this stuff. So the only way that we keep it 100% pure and we keep the theology accurate is by coming together as a community to help fund this thing. So, because I'm not independently wealthy, you know what I'm saying? So like, I know no other way of how we can accomplish this.
Yeah. And I'm just a millionaire. I'm not a multi-millionaire either.
Right.
There's no way. Otherwise I would donate. Yeah. And this is October. And we were saying earlier, there's a Kingdom Crew conference that's also in October. So October is a big month for Sean and for the truth community. And how much does the Kingdom Crew virtual conference cost?
$0.
$0. It's free. The truth is free. It'll set you free. It's going to be fascinating. I've been working on, actually, it's so hard when I'm at work not to work on like presentations and stuff but I've been piecing together things for this presentation, and I'm getting so excited because when you do this, it forces you to learn more. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the word is so much more fascinating when you see how interconnected it is and the clues the Father's been planting along the way. And I'm starting to see that with what we'll be talking about. So I'm excited to speak and get a chance to share at least at a session or two. So yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, we're going to have premieres, never before seen presentations, never before seen musical premieres from people that putting out new music. And we're going to have the premiere of season 4, episode 1 of Honor of Kings at the conference. And it's going to be in a completely new format. I think you guys are going to love this. So that's going to, hopefully you'll be super excited about that for everyone that's an Honor of Kings fan. And then, you know, in addition to all the wonderful speakers and everything they're doing, everything they're bringing to the table, we're also going to be premiering episode 1 of Days of Noah on the last day on the 22nd. So we're super excited.
Oh, that's cool. So that's when we're going to get to see it. That is awesome. I can't wait. And there's other things too Sean has going on. I know he does so many different things. Like I really admire. One of those is a life-changing app, the Kingdom in Context app you can get in the Google Play Store. Can you get it is this the one place you can get it for your phone?
You can get an Apple Store.
You can get Apple Store too now.
Yeah.
And it is, I'm telling you, I say life-changing because we met people on this app. It's like the Flat Earth app too. It has a fellowship finder function, people that are into studying the word and like sincere and humble about it and are okay being persecuted for what they believe. Because when you start digging into the truth, the more you walk like Yeshua, the more the world is not going to like you. You think it'd be the opposite. But yeah, that's the kind of people you can fellowship with. That you find them, and we found some awesome believers here.
That's great.
And
the app is free too.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah,
free. Yeah, the app is free, and that way you can be notified of different videos that we put out, as well as articles. As you see on the right-hand side, I write articles about Scripture, and then of course announcements and the fellowship finder. And or you can even get verified if you're a business or ministry. You can get verified for free. This isn't like Twitter, and they don't charge you $1,000 to get verified. So like I personally do the verification. So you can we already have like 4 dozen businesses and ministries that are verified on the fellowship finder. So what that means is if you tap that person's name, then a little card will pop up when you see them either in the comment section on an article, or if you see them on the fellowship finder on the map, you can tap on their name and it'll pop up like their business email, what socials you can find them on. It's like a digital info card. So if you're using the app and you haven't already got verified, go into the settings button, that little gear icon at the top, and you can go through the very simple questions to get yourself verified. And that way people can find you and connect with you easier. So they can do business with you, or they can learn more about your ministry. And so, yeah, we're super excited. And we've already got, I think we're up to like 3,000 people on the fellowship finder worldwide at this point. So it's still growing.
Wow. That's awesome. And
yeah.
Somebody in the comments saying making money off of God. No, this is, how much does the app cost?
Yeah, the app is free as well.
Free.
Yeah.
It's free. We're not selling you an app. This is free. So just reading the comments, seeing people barf emojis. Yeah. Now this is free stuff. You don't understand how many hours of someone like Sean's life goes into doing things for absolutely free. Okay, like it's a labor for the Father, bringing people to the Most High. It's not free to do that. I mean, it costs to live in your house. It costs to do these things when you're devoted full time to ministry. You can't just do everything for free and then go out on the streets and like beg for money so you can focus on ministry full time.
You know, oftentimes I think we've realized over the years that if someone's never started a business or they've never done anything
Mhm.
that requires money, when we talk about the Days of Noah project, and we're talking about the idea that, you know, season 1 to do this animated series is approximately $250,000. That's just production. So that's if people are not aware, if they've never tried to, you know, start a business, all the costs that are included, or they've ever tried to create a project like this, that's not like, out of the $250,000, there's no profit there.
Yeah.
That's just that's just to make it, you know, so that we can put it for free on YouTube.
Yeah, it's not to get in a private jet and fly to
Yeah.
the premiere of it and can fly back and then
Yeah. So like once we premiere this, it's going to be like, we have the Days of Noah YouTube channel. We have a Rumble channel. We're going to have a Lighthouse channel soon once that comes out. So like this will be for free. So like this isn't none of the 250 is just for the production budget. And then once it's produced, you get to consume it and share with your friends and family for free. So this is why we say we need your help as a community to come together, because you're not going to there'll be no paywall for viewing the Days of Noah. It'll be free to watch and free to share. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. That's a wonderful comment, because we're super excited. Both Marlo as well as Jose, who's doing the score, the epic score. We're super excited for him to do more things for the project as well, because we're going to do, that's the general motif, is what you heard in the trailers, but we're going to do like you would see in a lot of projects like this with different characters, where he's going to build off that motif with different characters. So like Noah's going to have his own little motif. You know, Jared's going to have his own little motif. You know, Azazel's going to have his own evil theme. You know what I mean? So that's like, when you watch TV shows, you don't realize it, because if you're engrossed in the show, you may not think about all the production going into the sound effects. Like you hear their shoes walking down the hallway, and you hear slight music in the background, because if it's a specific character who has his own motif, his own musical theme, then they'll start playing that little motif whenever that character comes into screen. So we'll be building that type of depth and richness into this story as well, so that you can hear clothes ruffling, you can hear explosions in the background, but not too close. You can hear, you know, the last gargling death of a giant as he gives it out. You know, so like,
wow,
we're excited. We're excited about putting this together and making it fun and entertaining and educational.
This is awesome. This is a blessing. I mean, like, seriously, cannot wait for October to get here. Can't get here soon enough. Get your children ready to watch. I mean, it's a big, make it a big viewing party. Get out your projector, project it, you know, make it a fun family thing to do. Make it a tradition. That's what we're going to try to do. Because I'm telling you, we are, as parents, desperate for things like this. This is a first for me, as far as a content that is literal biblical creation oriented. Like, this is something that's really going to be wore out. We're going to have it on replay at the house and down the road on road trips, those long road trips, kids are crying here.
Yeah.
Watch this
on
the phone.
Well, once season 1 is completed, we are planning to release, you know, like for digital download, and possibly even on or like a DVD. We have to look into that, but definitely for digital download, you can, you know, access all of the series that you could share with somebody as a gift if you wanted to, you know. So that's our goal, is once all the 16 episodes are completed for season 1, you can actually own the entire first season and give it away, or just keep it for your own sake. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, guys. We don't know. I mean, the censorship on YouTube is getting worse and worse. We don't know if they're going to allow Christian content on here. Oh, can I show my screen? Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Because I want you guys to see something in real time. I was just telling Josh about this before we started. So we have a Days of the Noah TV YouTube channel. That's the name of it, Days of Noah TV. And if I go to my studio, we are already, we haven't even been able to put money in promotion towards the content, like the teaser for the series, because it is blocked. It is, our Google Ads account has been suspended already. So before I could even put $1 into promoting this series, Google Ads account suspended our channel, our Days of Noah channel.
That is.
So what this means for anyone out there that's never tried to promote a YouTube video to get more reach, this means that I can't even pay them money to let more people see it. on YouTube. So this is what's already happening behind the scenes, guys. Like, this is not, this is my actual Days of Noah creator studio that you're seeing behind the scenes. They've already suspended my account. I made an appeal with them and I haven't heard anything back yet. It's been a week. And I just, all I tried to do, you see this where it says promotions beta? You see, it says videos, live, posts, playlists, podcast, promotions, beta. So so all YouTubers, you can go into your promotions tab right there, and you can actually, pay money to promote one of your videos and have more people on YouTube see it. I tried to do that for Days of Noah, and they instantly suspended my Google Ads account. So just keep in mind, guys, we're in a cultural war. We're in a battle, right?
Yeah.
And we're facing literal tech giants. And the only way we do this is by coming together, supporting each other's products and businesses, ministries, spreading the word, getting things out there. And so I'm just so grateful, Josh, that you allowed me to come on and talk about this project. And for everyone listening, if the Father puts it on your heart to help us out, the links in the video description for below, both our personal website, daysofnoah.tv, as well as our Patreon, Days of Noah, are two of the biggest ways that you can help make this series a reality.
Yeah, let's join in the fight together. I mean, we've had to cut out things, cable, all these different things that you used to spend money on, and spend it supporting things that go to the Father's truth, building great content like this and anime. I mean, this is mind blowing that this is actually happening. Like, seriously. And the fact that you tried to promote it and give them money, and they said, no, we're just going to shut you down right there. Don't give us money to promote something. Like, literally, that's how they make money. They hate truth so bad they won't even take money to promote it. Like, that's how bad they hate it. Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, the AI is not going to like it. Somebody said, yeah, this is the YouTube mafia. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's weird watching the censorship on YouTube from 2015, or I guess I've been using YouTube since like 2009. I don't know, for a long time. And back in the day, it was just a free for all, and now it's like they just pinch the water hose on truth subjects. So, I mean, I'm blessed to still be here. Somebody was going through all the links I used to have a compilation list of all the truther channels that I recommended and all the fake space videos, all these different things. And now it's like somebody lost a game of Minesweep. Like, they're all gone. Like, it's like deleted. Wow. This channel no longer exists. And it's depressing when you go back and try to find the stuff from the early days. And so we got to keep working and sharing this stuff any way we can. Anti-Semitic card. Yeah. So yeah, you guys have any questions for Sean? Ask away. I know he's got a lot to do. He's probably doing another project on the side right now as we speak. And
I've just got, in about an hour and a half, I have a Lighthouse meeting.
Oh yeah, he's also got Lighthouse coming out. So, yeah, that's a social media platform that's been in the works for a while, and people think this stuff is just easy, that you can just type in a few things, make a few things happen, and you got a social media platform for truth seekers. Again, something else that's for the truth community. It's going to be a blessing. And that's one of the first times I think you came on Rob Skiba and we're talking about Lighthouse. That's one of the first times I saw you. And then I started seeing more of your videos pop up. So that was the first time. So I was like, hey, it's the Lighthouse guy. Lighthouse. I didn't know you actually.
Yeah, that's been a long road, because it's just been a long road. I mean, imagine what I just showed you on YouTube. Behind the scenes, I got stories about Lighthouse that you guys would blow your mind. It's a miracle of God that we've gotten to the point we have now, and we're about to launch. And, just all kinds of unnecessary obstacles have popped up. And of course, trying to have something that has a feature where you can have a marketplace, in every state and county across the US, and then eventually in other countries. You deal with all different types of bureaucracy and issues with having a interstate marketplace online. And so this is where, that's on top of the video hosting and the social spine and everything. So like, it's just been a huge project. It's taken a little bit longer than I initially thought, but that's okay. It's about to be here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to all your projects, man. This has been cool. I always learning from Sean. I mean, it's a blessing. Got to meet him, got to be a part of a Q&A a few weeks ago. That was a dream come true blessing. Stopped on our way around the country, made a little stop, and really cool getting to.
Yeah, it was great to see you. You took pictures of. We took a family picture together, my family, your family. But did you get any good snapshots of the mountain ranges in the distance?
I need to go back through the videos and look, because I mean, we were looking at this scenery over there. I mean, Sean took us to this view that was, we don't have that kind of view around here. You can see mountains like 200 miles away. It was ridiculous how flat and expansive the world looks from that particular vantage point. And yeah, I've got to go and break that down. It was really cool, but I think the government sent a big flock of mosquitoes after us to kind of
That's right.
prevent us from doing that.
Little mechanical
Yeah.
engineer mosquitoes were coming to
Yeah.
destroy our view.
Bill
But
Gates
yeah, it's an
special.
amazing spot where you can in Wyoming in general, across the whole state, if you go to one of the mountaintops like we were on, and we were on a small one, by the way,
Oh,
but you
wow.
can see other mountaintops because there's large valleys, 100-mile valleys in between the mountaintops, and you can just see scattered around all over. This world is not a ball. We live on a
Yeah.
we live on a plane of the earth. Sure, there's ravines, there's mountains, there's depths of the oceans, there's undulation, but we definitely do not live on a ball. You can see too far. The math does not work. The Father's word describes that we live on the circle of the earth enclosed by a solid firmament, and that yeah, it's a beautiful cycle that He created for this whole thing to exist. And I'm I'm just excited that we get to implement like concepts from that biblical narrative into the storyline of something like this, because I've never seen that in a show of any kind, whether live action or cartoon. I've never seen anyone in a show talking about biblical creation model with an accurate description, as Josh and I have, talked about on shows together and on our own channels privately.
Yeah, this is something else. And little side note here, somebody just had a prayer request I wanted to address. Have Faith says, can I please ask a prayer request over a little baby boy that is only a few weeks old? He is currently in the hospital with what they are saying is a virus, and he is currently in oxygen machine. So yeah, pray for this precious little child. The Father is still, his power is real. It never went away. Our faith kind of dropped because we were surrounded by so many lies, but pray for this little baby boy, 3 weeks old, and the parents who are definitely in a tough time. So keep them in your prayers. Something new pops up. Yeah, update us on that. Thanks so much for letting us know and reaching out. Yeah, you guys are a blessing. I've missed everybody. It's been a while since I've gone live. Been everywhere. I feel like I've been a world
You've been
traveler.
vacationing and traveling. I'm sure you got an amazing photo
Yeah.
book from all that.
Oh gosh, yeah. I need to upload them somewhere, because I'll end up losing them. I'll lose my SD card and be like, oh wait, that's all gone. But yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to travel, meet people, have meetups along the way, and ran into somebody when we were going to, right before we went to meet you. So that was cool. Seeing a couple that just by chance in passing, they saw us and they came there specifically to meet up with us, and everybody that was there. And crazy circumstances, but miraculous that we got to unite with everyone the way we did. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a blessing. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. You guys can go back if you missed some of the trailers we've shown along the way. The YouTube channel has all of them, so you don't have to scroll through our videos. Subscribe to the Days of Noah channel so you can follow the progress and see little sneak peeks and all of that. And you can see all the trailers and things there. They also have a Facebook page. I believe that's linked in the description. I tried to put everything in one spot, as well as Sean's channel. If you're interested in learning way more about the Bible than you ever thought you could, go there. And he does Q&As, which is something you don't get at church. I've never seen a church where you go in and go, I have a question, and the pastor answers your questions in detail. And so they'll do that. And sometimes they answer the same questions over and over. But him and his lovely wife, Lindsay, go on and do these things. And it's fun. It's a fun experience. For those of you who are interested in studying the word, highly recommend it. And
Thank you.
Been a blessing. So thanks, Sean. Thanks very much for that, and all the people on the crew that are a part of the Days of Noah crew making this happen. I know you guys are really doing the Father's work. So in spite of all the persecution that'll probably follow, and all the critics and all the haters, because everyone's a critic, keep pushing forward. A lot of these attacks are spiritual when they're coming at your work that you put so much time and effort into, and they just want to take you down and discourage you. Just ignore it.
We will. We'll do our best to just overcome and get this story to the masses.
All right.
That's our heart.
Awesome. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.